All right, hey everybody, TG here. It is July 28th, Wednesday. We're going to be going live in the market, and we might be having some technical issues too, so we're going to do our best with our broadcasting, so stay tuned. All right, if anybody needs to know anything about me, you can come over here to profitpilot.com. This is where you can find some of the stuff that I like to read, or write rather. And then if you guys are interested in any of the services that I offer about the trading room or any classes or anything else like that in the past, you can go over here to services and you can check out some of the other stuff down that I have here, like as I said, classes and whatnot. All right, so let's get into it. And first, we're going to be looking at the major indexes and the S&P and all that kind of stuff. Do keep in mind, we are in the middle of earnings season right now. So we've got a lot of big ones. I think we had Microsoft and Google and Amazon last night. So we've got some mixtures going on with that. We've got a whole bunch of other tech coming up. We've just got a whole bunch of earnings coming up in general that are going to be probably creating some issues around here and showing and kind of making the market move around a bit. One way that we can also look at this is from the S&P, and I'll go over to the NASDAQ too. But what we saw originally, hang on just one second. Sometimes you gotta plug in, unplug and plug in certain things. So now we got that running. There we go. All right, so what I was looking at originally is this was when price crossed over the hourly 50 on that one-day dip, right? We got a really, really big one-day dip from Monday of last week, and then it just sprang on up. Now, cool, that's fine. You know, it's a 15-minute setup, as I like to call it. It was time frame. And then I would be looking at the next setup on the hourly, which is generally price coming back down to test or get closer to the hourly 50. Well, lo and behold, that's what it did yesterday, and it did it on a pretty rough break right here. So yesterday they just said, oh, you know what, we're going to just bring this thing down. I think it was manipulation. I was looking at the internals. The internals weren't that bad. They really weren't. The order flow wasn't that bad. You know, a lot of stocks were down, but it was really just they all decided to move everything at once and said, we're going to just do this. And it also seemed as though they might be doing this to make room for the big earnings, basically make room for tech earnings. Like, let's bring everything down, let's kind of wash out the weak hands, and then we can make room for the tech earnings and stuff like that. So that's kind of my thought. We've been talking about it a little bit on our end. And so you can see here there was a big gap between price and the hourly 50, beginning early this week, and then yesterday we got price pulled back down. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that we have the FOMC later today. So that's going to be a big thing. Usually it's not the day of the FOMC or even a couple hours after FOMC. It's the next day. So if I were to be looking at this on the S&P for the 15-minute time frame, I'm a little concerned because right now I see that even though price has pulled back down to near the hourly 50, it's still not quite there. And so I think, there's still a little bit of room that price could move down or still have that little bit of an issue. The other thing I'm looking at is the down up movement from yesterday to today has brought price into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. So I think that there could still be some more shake and bake, as one of our coworkers, Candy, has been calling it. So then if we go over to the NASDAQ and we look here, and we've had a pretty big move to the upside. A lot of people were looking for a pullback. I think a lot of people are also looking for price to go down to the daily 50. I was thinking that could happen too, but it wasn't going to happen right away. My standpoint was that I was expecting price to initially bounce off of the daily 21, which is exactly what it did. And then after that, it's kind of the question. It's like, oh, okay, well, do we go up a little bit and then do we roll over and then we come back down to the daily 50, or what's the situation? And what it decided to do was actually move up and make new highs, which is much stronger than I think a lot of us expected. But then again, just like the S&P, look at this giant gap here between price and the hourly 50. And lo and behold, yesterday when they just decided we're going to bring this thing back down, where did it go? Right smack to the hourly 50. So I look at that and say, talk about some powers to be out there. that can control the market and move it exactly where they want to move it. Once again, just like the S, do see that price is up here over a downtrending 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator is a little bit below zero. So I'm not super thrilled about that. That's not a super strong situation as far as where I want to go in quite yet. There's a little bit of finesse. Let me kind of, while I'm thinking of it, let me show you something like Wix, because Wix was kind of in that situation yesterday. So you can see a couple things that I've been pointing out similar to the S&P and similar to the NASDAQ. Notice here on Wix, you see how, like the S&P, price is still a little too far away from the hourly 50, and it moved up, but then now came back down to the hourly 50. So it's more robustly a stronger pullback. Then the other thing that we could see is, just like the NASDAQ, here is price going up over a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. This too is a bit of a situation. That's what I'm looking at, and I saw that. I was like, okay, I can't quite go in on this. It's not super confirmed for me. It doesn't look super great. Like, these are those little details and nuances that you look at and you say, huh, you know, it's over the moving average. It looks good. Like, it's good and it's up for the day. It's strong. And then it pulls back on the very next day, and you're like, what is going on? So it's these little things that I look at and I say, okay, well, between price not being close enough to the hourly 50 and then price being over a downtrending 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator not looking super awesome, it kind of a little bit reserved on something like the NASDAQ here, because you can see the NASDAQ, just like Wix, has price up over a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. So I still think that there's going to be some shake and bake going on out there. All right, so then let me hop over to the IWM. And if you guys have any possible questions, let me know, and then we can talk about those things. Let me move over to this one here. So if we look here at the daily and hourly, I'm still kind of bullish on the IWM. Now, it's going to take some time, all right? It's just going to take some time because it's not ready yet. But there's some similarity happening here and happening here, which we can see here and here on the daily chart. So until this thing breaks to the downside and really actually confirms something bearish and having some issues, I'm actually looking at this and saying, I think this might be a bullish setup. You know, I'm looking at this and saying, you know, we've come down here and basically done a double bottom, just like we did a double bottom right there. And I'm kind of looking at that and I see double bottom, positive divergence. I see, you know, for all intents and purposes, double bottom right there and positive divergence. So, you know, I'm kind of keeping in the back of my head that we might actually see some bullishness in the IWM eventually, especially after this really big move to the downside, which brought us